Okay, after going to gmail.com, suppose I have to enter the username and password. But to do that, we need to recognize how do we identify an element on the web page. Okay, well, there are many ways in which you can identify an element on a page using Selenium. Right, hold on. These are known as locator strategies. Okay, if I go to Gmail page, it's a very simple page. Okay, now what Selenium does is Selenium, it identifies the objects by going into the page source. Okay, if you go into the page source, okay, I have this add-on installed. Okay, hold on. If you look at, hold on. I have Firebug with me. I'll show it to you with Firebug. Look, the first thing which you need to do is you need to have skills to investigate your page source. By page source, I mean to say the HTML code of your page. Okay, because what happens is Selenium goes into the page, it investigates the page based on the HTML code. Fine. Now, knowledge of HTML language is a little important out here. If you don't know what HTML is, if you're not comfortable with HTML, then I would highly recommend you that you go to the Google website and type out here HTML tutorial. Fine. Just go to the first link, wcschools.com/html. You'll get a tutorial here. Just give half an hour to this tutorial, not more time. Okay. What is the name? I know that you can right click on the page source, but I'm not getting the option out here. View image, view video, save video, email. Yeah, view page source. Okay, so if you go to view page source, this will actually give you the page source of this page. It's not coming up. I don't know, like on my PC. Let me restart my browser. Hold on. Okay, anyways, don't worry. Right now, the thing is, if you have to investigate a page, you have to go into the page source, you have to investigate a page. The better idea is open Mozilla and install something known as Firebug inside Mozilla. Okay. Please don't use the latest version of Mozilla, that is Mozilla 21, which is right now while working with Selenium, because on many machines it fails to work. It's not fully supported. Okay, get some older version of Mozilla and like 16 or 17 which is fully supported and work on it when working with Selenium. Let me get an older version of Mozilla on my machine. Right now, as I was telling you, the page source, the knowledge of HTML language is very important. Okay, HTML language is a language which is made up of tags. Alright, in HTML there are various tags. I'll show you. Hold on. If you Yeah, now Firebug is also working. If you go to Gmail homepage and if you look at the page source, now page source is also coming up. Right, now all these characters in the red or maroon color, these are known as tags. Okay, these are tags. Now every tag has set of attributes associated with it. For example, this div tag has got the attribute class. This img tag has got the attribute source. Fine. Whatever starts with a conical bracket is the tag, and after that the attributes of the tag get come out. Fine. A tag can have one or even more than one attributes. Alright. For example, hold on. Yeah. For example, this is an input tag. This has got an attribute known as type, ID, name, value. Okay. So with the combination of this tag name and the attributes, you can identify the elements with Selenium using various strategies. Alright. And now for example, I'll create a new, hold on. I use this Excel file, tags.xls. Okay, let us study the various HTML components which we will be dealing with. Okay, so hold on. Before directly jumping over to it, I'll just explain you something. Right. Now, what all elements are present on a web page? I'll make a section known as element. Right. The tag name of the element, and every element. What do I mean by this element and tag name? Hold on, I'll tell you. There are various elements on a web page. Okay, elements like there is the text box, there is a radio button, there is a checkbox. Fine. After checkbox, there is a button as well, which you sometimes have to click on. Then there is a link. Then there is a drop list. Normal text is also present on the page. Then what else is present? Image is also present on the page. Right. So these are the generic elements which are visible to the human eye. Every element has a tag name. Okay. Apart from this, elements like web tables or frames and all these are not visible to the human eye. We will not talk about them right now. Okay. We will talk about the generally used HTML components. Okay. Now, every HTML component has a tag name. You can identify the tag name by simply installing a very simple add-on in your Mozilla browser. Okay, you go to Google and just type, open up Mozilla and then go to Google. okay, and then type download Firebug. Firebug will help you understand the page source very easily. Okay, hold on. You go here and select add to Firefox, add to Firefox. It will add on Firebug into Firefox. You'll have to restart it. Okay, this is the icon which you'll see in the end when it's installed. Okay, when you click on this icon, this type of window will come up. Alright, now there will be out here, there will be an arrow in this window. Okay, if you click on that arrow and move your mouse over several places on the page, you will keep on, for example, I move my mouse over this search box. You will get the HTML code corresponding to the search box in Firebug. This is somewhat similar, not exactly similar to Spy in QTP. If you studied QTP, this is somewhat similar to that. If you look at the register link, this will give you the HTML code of the register link. Okay, now as I told you, like this is a text field. Every text field will have a tag name. A text field always will have a tag name known as input. Okay, now similar thing, if you have to do with Chrome or IE, if you want to investigate your page using Chrome or IE, then how do you do that? Okay, how do you investigate the page using Chrome or IE? Right, in Chrome, fine, suppose this is the page. Okay, there is no need to install an add-on. Okay, Chrome Inspector is something which is already present inside Chrome. All you need to do is that you right click on any element on the Chrome. For example, you right click on this Google search button. Okay, you'll get the option inspect element. Okay, you'll get the option inspect element, and when you click on it, you'll get the corresponding element in the page source. Okay, or you can also hit F12 of your keyboard and Chrome Inspector will open up. Alright, so this is how Chrome Inspector works. Similarly, in IE there is something known as IE Developer Kit. If you hit F12 of keyboard, that will open up. In IE8, IE9 it is there. If you hit F12 of your keyboard, you'll end up opening that. Fine. Now, let's move forward. Okay, so this is how you investigate your elements in different browsers. But why do you investigate them? Because Selenium actually works on the page source. Okay, and I was telling you that these are the various components like text box. I just told you it's got a tag name named as input. If you look at radio button or if you look at checkbox, okay, for example, on the Gmail page, you have a checkbox. Right? If I look at this checkbox, then the tag name for checkbox is also input tag. For a radio button also it is input tag. Tag name is input for radio, checkbox, text field, and also for a button. If I look at any button, for example, this sign in button on the page, then the tag name for this sign in button is again input tag. Alright. So moving further, we know that the tag name for all the four components is for a link. The tag name is anchor tag A. Many of you must be knowing this. Every link on the page starts with the tag name anchor A. Okay. Then for a drop list, like a drop list on the page over here, right? If you look at this drop list, then the tag name is select. Okay. A text has got no particular tag name. Text can come up in a div, in a para tag, in a span tag, right, in li tag, right. It's or any other tag. Okay, you cannot generalize text. Text can come anywhere in any tag. Okay, right. Image. If you talk about an image, uh, for example, on Gmail, this Google is an image. Okay, if I look at this image, then this is img class. The tag name for image is img. Okay, these are the tag names associated with every component which is present on the page. Now, as I told you, every tag has got attributes. For example, this div class has the attribute class. Okay, or if I look at the username field, then this is an input tag uh, with the attributes like ID, type, value, name, spell check. Okay, these are the various attributes, right? Now, uh, every element has set of mandatory million is right. There was some problem in the voice in between. So I told you that for a text field, the tag name would remain same. The type would be text. Sorry, tag name would be input. But the mandatory attributes, they will differ for all these four: text box, radio button, checkbox, and button. For input field, the type will be text. For a radio button, type will be radio. For checkbox, it will be checkbox, and type attribute for a button would be submit. Okay. For example, this text field over here has got type equals to text, and you will always see this attribute coming up. Okay. Now in case of a link, for example, this is a link, forgot password. In case of a link, href attribute is mandatory. It points towards the URL which will open if you click on the link. Okay, so for a link, href is important. For a drop list, there is no mandatory attribute. For text box, there is no mandatory attribute. For an image, the attribute comes up, mandatory attribute known as source, it comes up. Okay, the source attribute in case of an image tells where the image is coming from. For example, if we go to Gmail page, then there is a Google image on the top. Okay, out here the source is this. This is the source. Okay, if I copy paste the source here, you will see the Google image out here. Okay, so these are the mandatory attributes. Fine. Now there are set of optional attributes as well. Generally they are name, ID, class. So these are the three optional attributes which can be present or not be present with any of the components. Now generally name and ID, they are supposed to be unique for an element. One element on the page should have a unique name, unique ID. If the developer is giving name or ID to an element, that should be very unique. It should not be repeated, otherwise it's not considered good. Okay, generally if these two attributes are present, then we can directly identify the element on the page. If these two attributes are not present, then you have to identify using tag name, mandatory attribute, optional. So you have to make a combination of all that stuff. Okay, but if the developer is smart, he'll give you a name or an ID to almost every object on the page. Okay, now what is class? Class is actually, you have to be little careful with class because at times class cannot be unique. Like for example, if I go to a website like this, that is demo.virtumart.com. Okay, now at times an element can be associated with the class. For example, you see these buttons, add to cart. Okay, now generally elements which are of the same look and feel on the page have the same class. This class is actually the CSS class. For example, if I look at the first add to cart button, it's got a class known as BTN success add to cart button. If I look at the second button, it's also got the same class. If I look at the third button, it will also have the same class. Generally elements which are of the same look and feel, they have the same class. So you have to be a little bit careful by identifying the object on the basis of its class, because there can be more than one object on a page or more than one element on the page having the same class. Alright, now theoretically we have studied something, that is every component has a tag name and set of mandatory and optional attributes. Okay, and these are the mandatory attributes for each of the elements, and in optional attributes name or ID can be unique, but class mandatorily it cannot be unique, it can be repeated as well. Fine, elements of the same look and feel have the same class. Now how do I identify the elements over here? Right, if I make a new project, known as day 4. I'll add the Selenium jar files in it. Hold on. Okay. Now out here, let me copy paste this Selenium basics file which I had made yesterday and I'll enhance this. So in this Selenium basics file, we had seen, right? We had seen that you can decide your browser type here. So this decision will be then be taken from the Excel file when we work practically. Okay, I have not taught you how to read the Excel file as of now. So depending on the browser type, the corresponding browser will open, right? Because the driver for Firefox, Chrome, and IE implement the same interface, they have same set of functions. So you can navigate it to Gmail, whatever browser it opens. Now after Gmail, how do you identify the elements? To find the element page, there is a function known as driver.findElement. Okay, this function finds the first web element using the given method. Now the first word is very important over here. For example, if I am on my Gmail page and this is the username field. The ID of this username field is email. Okay, and there is a class known as by, find element by. If you write by dot, you will get various options to go forward and identify an element like class name, CSS selector, ID, ring text name, partial text, tag name, XPath. Okay, if you select by.id because developer has given the ID to this field, if you write by.id email, this will be extracted from the page. The element will be pulled out from the page for usage. But if there are two elements with the name email on the page, with the ID email which should not be there, okay, generally, but suppose there is a scenario in which there are two elements, okay, one element is at this location, other one is at this location, suppose, just taking a hypothetical scenario. Now when Selenium scans the page, it scans from the top left to the top right, like this, and finds the element. Alright. So if Selenium finds this one first, then it will use this one. It will not use the second one. This one. This is the meaning of driver.findElement. Find the first web element using the given method. What if we have to find the second one or third one? We'll talk about that later on. But generally in the beginning, just understand that driver.findElement will find an element on the page. Okay, by this ID. Okay, now out here, what does find element returns you back? If you look at the find element function, it returns you back the reference of something known as web element. If I click on this, then web element will open up. Okay, this is the Java doc which we had imported that day. It's opening inside Eclipse only. This is the added advantage. Okay, interface web element. Right, driver.findElement function returns you a reference of an interface known as WebElement. You can write WebElement username equals to this. Now what is WebElement? Don't confuse this with the WebElement of QTP. If you have ever studied QTP, then WebElement of QTP is very different from this. Okay. In Selenium, every component on the page is known as a web element. These all are my web elements. I'll write over here web element. Text box is a web element, radio button, checkbox button. Everything is on the web page is a web element. Okay. So in the web element interface, there are various common functions like clear, click, which are applicable to any element on any web page. For example, a function like click on a button, click on a link, click on an input field, click on a radio button checkbox. So this can click anywhere. Or a function like is displayed will tell you whether the element is displayed or hidden on the page. You get text will get you the text from the page, right? Get location will give you the location of the elements with XY coordinates. Okay, so a web element is a generic representation for all the elements on the page. So when I write find element, it finds out a single web element on the page with the given criteria. Alright. Now in the next line I can write username web element dot send keys, say hello user. Right. So if you look at this thing, in WebElement interface there is a function known as send keys. This function is used to simulate typing into an element which may set its value. Okay, so you can write username dot send keys hello user. Similarly, I can find the password field. I can write web element password equals to driver dot find element by the ID, the ID of the password field. This developers in Gmail are good, they are given IDs of the elements, but what if IDs are not present? Then we'll be forced to use XPaths and all. Okay, hold on. Password dot send keys some password. Okay, now depending on the browser type, we can execute. Don't think that IDs will differ on different browsers. It's not like that. The page source, this is the page, the source of the page remains same on all the browsers until or unless the developer has not specifically written the code differently for different browsers. But that's a very rare case. Generally, the HTML code in 99.99% of the applications remains same for different types of browsers on the same site, obviously. Okay, so if you are identifying the IDs in Mozilla, right, then it will also work on Chrome. Let me go run this script on Mozilla first. If I run this on Mozilla, this will open up hold on, it's taking a little time. Yeah, so it goes to Gmail. See that? Right. Now same IDs will also be valid on Chrome. If I change my browser to Chrome here, which will be done externally, if I run my script, then Chrome will open. See that? This thing also works on Chrome. Alright. Any questions from anybody? Anything regarding Selenium, regarding this web element, or anything regarding the course, anything. If you are not able to understand, you able to get it, right? Now, one more thing is there. To interact with one component, I am writing two lines. This is not so good. Okay, you can directly write everything in one line as well. I'll just comment this portion. I'll just comment this portion. Everything is case sensitive. Okay, everything is case sensitive, but the tags in HTML are always given in lowercase. You'll never find tags given by the developer in HTML in uppercase. If you find it, I've never seen them, then you should actually tell him that better correct it out. Okay, whatever it is you write in Java code is always case sensitive. Java is a case sensitive language. Okay, capital letter, uppercase, lowercase matters a lot in Java, especially in double quotes as well, right? So now out here, I can also write this in another way, that is, you can write driver.findElement by the ID email directly dot send keys hello user.